Father Paul was an Orthodox monk who chose Mount Athos in Greece as the place to fulfill his passion for God and icons. Athos, 40 kilometers long and 12 kilometers wide. This unusual peninsula juts out into the Aegean Sea facing Turkey. Athos is a protectorate dating from the 9th century. An era when Byzantine princes gave up their fortunes so that the Orthodox doctrine would not succumb to the spread of Islam. Athos has been forbidden to women for the past 1,000 years. Today it is inhabited by 1,800 monks. Through their spirituality, the monks strive to be completely autonomous to such a degree that they refer to the world outside Athos as the cosmos. The monks submit to a demanding discipline of chastity, no material possessions, and obedience, for total devotion to God. To benefit the community, each monk is assigned a task by a superior. The production of incense, as seen here, is in addition to other activities that are frequently interrupted by the incessant prayers. Even time must comply to the order of Athos. Respecting a Byzantine tradition, the monks do not follow the conventions of clocks and calendars. For them, it is always midnight when the sun sets. The history of this peninsula, accessible only by sea, remains a mystery. Legend has it that the Virgin, accompanied by John, rested here after weathering a violent storm. This peaceful place became a garden of the Virgin. The early Orthodox priests came here starting in the 7th century. The famous precursor was the hermit Athanasi, who cleared the cave to join in communion with the Holy Virgin. Later, he established the foundations of the first monastery on Mount Athos. It was called the Grand Lavra. It is the year 963, a time when Mount Athos would assume enormous importance. This veritable Orthodox state within Greece is accessible only with a visa. Its government is seated at the capital city of Karias. It consists of 20 elected members who congregate twice a year to manage the spiritual community. 20 members represent the 20 monasteries of Athos. Each monastery remains autonomous. Regardless of whether it is Russian, Bulgarian, Greek, or Serbian, the monastery constitutes a territory upon which sit secondary monasteries called skyties. There are also farms called kelias, and temples of total isolation called hermitages. Tradition. The knowledge transferred from one generation of monks to another determines the organization of daily life on Mount Athos. To bread, oil, olives, and vegetables, honey is added for a frugal menu that excludes meat. Bees also provide the wax that is necessary for making candles.
The monks here on Mount Athos try to spend 8 hours a day in prayer. Here we say, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, or Holy Mother of God, save us. So when the faithful have a rosary, they say their beads. This is an activity that allows for the concentration necessary for the work of a monk. All the monks have this kind of rosary. It's a tradition that comes from the 3rd century.
Legend has it that the first icons found on Mount Athos washed ashore after having been thrown into the sea by their owners, hoping to save them from capture by the infidels.
The winter is the time when it's really difficult place to live, because your needs increase. It's cold, there's no light. You feel alone, there aren't visitors.
Near the cemetery is a sort of chapel which holds the bones of the deceased. It is the ossuary, a place for communion with the souls of the departed.
This is a very important place in the life of every monastery, because in the Orthodox tradition, we show a particular respect for relics, for bones.
3 years after burial, bodies are exhumed and the bones are brought here. The skulls and skeletons are purified before being placed in the ossuary. Only the skulls are arranged chronologically.
Death does not eliminate the person, so we keep our respect for all the qualities that a person had in their life. We attribute sanctity to all these skulls and bones because, though God will finally judge, for us, they're still human beings, those who did what they had to do. So we have to render the necessary respect.
Each skull is identified and marked with the name of the monk in Chinese ink. The inscription also includes the monk's ministry and the date that he entered the monastery, otherwise known as his spiritual birth. All this is to ensure that he is not forgotten.
In this cupboard are kept all the skulls of the igoumen, or the holy men of the Skiti. There are 9 skulls here. That's a short period of life in the Skiti. One can see that in this cupboard they have put a blue glaze on 2 sides, which symbolizes eternity. These holy men did well and lived as they must. Now they are close to the throne of God.
Tonight on this Easter Sunday, we're going to take you to a place outside our world. It's not Mars or Venus, but it might as well be. It's a remote peninsula in northern Greece that millions believe to be the most sacred spot on Earth. It's called Mount Athos, and prayers have been offered here every day with no interruption for more than 1,000 years. It was set aside by ancient emperors to be the spiritual capital of Orthodox Christianity, and has probably changed less over the centuries than any other inhabited place on the planet. The monks come here from all over and do everything they can to keep what they call the world far away. Not surprisingly, journalists are not exactly welcome. For more than 2 years now, we've been corresponding, negotiating, and frankly pleading for an invitation, but ran into one monastic wall after another. Then, much to our surprise and delight, a few months ago, the monk said, "Okay, come see who we are." This Byzantine cross marks the border between Mount Athos and the 21st century. The monks come here, as they always have, for the beauty, the tranquility, and the isolation. But most of all, for this.
επί των Κύριων, Άριον των Αθέων και της Ευή Μακεδόνιον, τεσσερές των δογμάτων σου.
Father Yakovos is one of the few Americans on the mountain. He's been here more than half his life.
You have to understand the words that we're saying in today's liturgy are the same words that Christ was saying, the same words that saints from the 1st century, the 2nd century, the 3rd century, the 4th century.
And nothing has changed in Orthodoxy since then. It's the only branch of Christianity that can make that claim. Father Eliseos is the abbot, the top man, at Simonos Petros, one of the 20 monasteries. It was Abbot Eliseos who invited us here, and never let us forget what a rare privilege it was.
It happened once, in 1981.
The last time you invited a television crew here was 1981.
Correct. We weren't going to invite you, but your persistence convinced us to open the door.
The door he opened revealed the wonder that is Simonos Petros, which fits like a crown on top of a rock 800 feet above the Aegean. It was built in the 14th century, and the monks will tell you it must be considered a miracle that it hasn't fallen into the sea. There are 20 monasteries on Mount Athos. Some look like medieval fortresses. Others are so large they resemble small cities. They rise from virgin forests and line the coast, shrouded in mist. There's nothing on this 130-square-mile peninsula other than monasteries and monks. Nothing. We expected Mount Athos to be a quiet place, but we couldn't have imagined how quiet until we were dropped off here. The silence is only broken by the occasional tapping on a chiseled piece of chestnut. It's a call to prayer, and it started being used here before there were bells.
Οι άνθρωποι που βρίσκονται εδώ έχουν ένα και μοναδικό σκοπό.
The monks here have one goal, and that is how to get closer to God.
Father Serapion wanted us to understand that there is no place on earth closer to heaven than Mount Athos.
Μόνο πάνω από 1000 εκκλησίες κάθε μέρα κάνουν θεία λειτουργία.
Every day, 1,000 divine liturgies are celebrated on the peninsula.
Είναι μοναδικό.
It's unique in the world and in the Orthodox Church.
Exactly what makes it unique.
Ο απόλυτος τρόπος της ζωής των μοναχών.
It's the absolute way of life of the monks.
It's a Spartan way of life, but all the monks we talked to said they never want to leave, not even for a day. So they try to be self-sufficient. They grow their own fruits and vegetables, do their own tailoring, and when they get sick, there's an in-monastery doctor, Father Emeleos, who's not very busy because the monks are in excellent shape. There's remarkably little cancer, virtually no heart disease or Alzheimer's. They must be doing something right in addition to drinking wine at 9 in the morning. They eat 2 meals a day. There's what they call the first meal, which lasts 10 minutes, and the second meal, which lasts 10 minutes. There's no meat and no dinner table conversation.